Jermaine Van Buren, though, is currently the pitching coach at Lubbock Christian University. He pitched in the big leagues in 2005, 2006. In his last big league appearance, he struck out Derek Jeter the one time he faced him. Jermaine's kind to spend a couple minutes with us. Jermaine, Mike Ferrin, and Jim Duquette, how are you?
How you doing, big man?
Jermaine, thank you for the time. You had that one at bat. I mean, it was your last one, so it's probably memorable in a lot of ways. But would you with striking out Jeter, that's not an easy feat. Obviously, take us through. What was your feeling after that?
The feeling before that was, look who's stepping in the box. The
Right.
next was once it was all said and done, and he struck out. I was like, man. I don't know if I'll ever be able to do that again. He's just, you see him warm up. You saw some of the things he did pregame, and you just see why he had the aura that he had, man. So for me to strike him out, was huge for me, being that I was only up there for a cup of coffee. But that's something I do remember. That is something I do tell my kids. So it was a big deal for me.
Yeah, so maybe take us through what that aura was, Jermaine, and what you saw that, obviously you hear a lot about Jeter, and Jeter by 2006 was beyond a legend, right? He already had 4 rings in the book. I mean, he was one of the all-time greats already at that point. So what stood out about that? What gave him that aura when you saw him?
Well, I was blessed enough to play. I was with the Red Sox at the time, so I was blessed enough to be in a locker room with some already legendary guys, Poppy, Schilling, Pap, Pedroia, who I kind of came up with. So Manny, it was already a good, group of guys to be around and to keep you humble. So to be able to, when we played them at Boston, and that's when it happened. I'm just watching him warm up, and you just see difference. You see a difference on how he goes about his business, how he looks. So it wasn't like a fear thing. It was just like this guy's. He is what you see, and he is what you want to compete against. Like, he just had that aura, how he played, how he took ground balls. Just, it was small details that he did that stood out for me. And a lot of those things I still use today with my players, and just teaching, the small things of how you want to be perceived. And he just stood out in that way for me.
That's interesting because you had a good, you had a perspective obviously from the opposing dugout, but he made an impact on you in that way, huh? To pass on. Because I think there is some good lessons there to pass on to players, and specifically to your players there in college.
Oh, there's no doubt. I use my experiences and talks that I've had with other guys that played longer than me to with my guys today. That's huge for me in the using that as a learning tool. But you playing at Yankee Stadium, you playing in Boston. I was blessed enough to play in Chicago. I mean, you get to play in some historical places. And you take what you can from them, because you just never know when that jersey's coming off, man. So you take what you can from it, but to see him and to see the guys that you get to compete against, man, it was a blessing beyond belief.
We're visiting with Jermaine Van Buren, who struck out Jeter the only time he faced him. All right, what do you remember about the at-bat, other than the result? Do you remember how you attacked him, how you were able to get him? What do you remember about the sequences, any of the specifics of it?
Well, you always have these scouting reports, and you try to taper the scouting report to what you can do. So for me, the whole scouting deal was, hey, he's going to stay inside, he's going to drive off ball, he's going to have tough at bats, long at bats. Try to keep him away from those, just so he doesn't see as many pitches. And for me, I just tried to attack him early, because if you get in a deep count or behind with any hitter at that level, you're kind of in a bad situation. But for him, you get in a deep count or you're behind, you can't even go off speed just because of his swing. So I just tried to attack him early with a bunch of fastballs. Well, sliders early and fastballs late. And that's kind of how I got him at the end. Fastball, 3-2 fastball, I think it was at the hip. So he swung through it, and, that was my icing on the cake.
Right. No doubt. We were just talking to Joba Chamberlain, because his you faced him once, you struck him out. Joba's first at bat against him, he hit him. Like, he's trying to go in and he hits him, right? So, was there a thought process at all of trying to go in off the plate with him, or what was your initial feeling on that?
Well, I do know we talked about crowding him, but that wasn't my strong suit at the time. So, and I think there was a runner at second possibly. And so my whole deal was just to get a weak ground ball to second or something soft to the right side of the field. So my positives were slider and fastball away. And we just stayed right there. It was almost like you didn't want to poke the bear because you didn't want to you didn't want to miss, and all of a sudden you're on that wall. So for me, it was just, man, hey, keep it on the ground, keep it in the park. Let's try to get out of this as soon as possible.
But before we let you go, Jermaine, how are the Chaparrals going to be this year? How are you guys feeling about your season? I love it, Christian, a Division II school now. How do you feel about things there?
Man, I love it here. I mean, I think we're going to be a very competing team. We're going to go out there daily, just as we've done so far, and we're going to try to do well on that circle, man. That circle's where it starts, and we just finish up everywhere else. But we're going to do our best to, bring a conference championship home and hopefully bring a World Series home to Lubbock, Texas, man.
That's great. That's awesome. Well, good luck this season. Thank you so much for your memories.
Yeah,
it was great stuff, and best of luck to you guys this year.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Go Shout.
Jermaine Van Buren, who pitched in the big leagues with the Cubs and the Red Sox, who struck Jeter out the only time he faced him.